Hello, hello, hello. Hello, Facebook. Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. So, today's topic, what if my partner's just shut down? What if they're shut down and what if they're not going to like hearing the truth? So, these two things often go together, and the way it happens is when you've got some kind of mismatch with openness or somebody's not real good at dealing with their feelings. They're shut down to some degree, and in order to keep from making waves, you'll not share something that you know is going to upset them. And that, you know, it's sort of like sacrificing authenticity to keep things kind of cool in the relationship. And that's when, tell you what, give me some hearts or love if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me okay. That, so we've got a lot of background noise here, but give me some hearts, give me some love if you can hear me okay. So when when you're with somebody, either short term or long term, and actually this is best if you're in the dating world trying to start a new relationship. This is a very, very important thing to grab a hold of. So with if they're shut down and if like they're either not dealing with their feelings real well or not uh, not sharing with you everything that's going on with them, or you just feel a distance between you that you don't like, the number one thing you got to do, and this is going to sound kind of counterintuitive, the number one thing you got to do is you make your life what you want it to be. You make your life awesome. When you are making your life what you want it to be, then you're in a position to enjoy yourself. And even if they're not going to join you on that journey, but whether they're going to join you on that journey or not, you got to make your life awesome anyway. That's what we are all here to do. And sometimes it can mean the relationship doesn't go how you want it to. Hey, Wendy Baggerly Moffat. Hey, I hope you're doing fantastic. I haven't seen you in forever. So if like if you're feeling the distance in the relationship, it of course it doesn't feel good. None of us like being in that situation. But the responsibility we cannot get out of is to make our lives wonderful. And a lot of times that means having some really hard conversations. And where most of us get hung up, and I know like so many people, have done the same thing that I used to do, is you don't share what you know is going to inflame things between us. And so you wind up hiding. It's like things are smoother between you for a while, but eventually it does catch up. It catches up, it eventually comes out, and during that time, you've got to live with a distance. And the piece that nobody taught me for a long, long time is it doesn't feel good to hide. It doesn't feel good to hide what's really going on inside. And I don't know if you guys can hear it. There's a couple on the tennis court just near me, laughing and playing and goofing off and having fun. So the the big thing, when we don't share what's going on inside, when we don't share our true feelings, it doesn't feel good, and we're not being true to who we are. We're not being authentic, and that means the relationship isn't going to be satisfying in the first place. We've got to share what's going on. Hey, Amy. So the we've got to be clear about who we truly are, and the easiest way to do that, instead of getting a big idea of who I am and all that stuff, it's like pay attention to how you're feeling right this second. So paying attention to how you feel and then sharing that with your partner. And if they're not going to like it, you wind up being like, if you hold back sharing how you really feel because you think they may not like it, you wind up putting yourself in a position of choosing between their comfort and your unhappiness versus giving yourself a chance to enjoy your life. Your number one responsibility is to make your life awesome. You've got to walk your path. You've got to be the person that you want to be no matter what. And that in itself, while it seems like you can create a lot of distance, and sometimes it does create more distance between you, but sometimes it can have an awesome effect on the relationship. When you start living your life and you start doing what you want to do with your life, then, hey Nick, hope you're doing well. When you start walking your path and you start making your life what you want it to be, then you're in a position to have a real good influence on the people around you. So, and what if they're not going to like what you have to say? You got to say it anyway. It's like it will eventually come out. It it will eventually come out in possibly not a good way unless you two just agree to stay shut down together, to live with a distance, and that doesn't feel good to anybody. You're going to wind up having a life of frustration. So take the risk, have the tough conversation, and if you don't know how to do that in a really good way, it's like nobody that I ever met growing up learned the communication skills, learned all the tips and tricks of communicating around a tough subject. We've got to learn how to communicate, because a lot of times sharing what we feel when we're coming from a place of frustration, it lands with the other person as us saying, you're a fuck up. And even though we don't intend it that way, even if we're really frustrated with them or something they've been doing that doesn't feel good, it comes off as you're a fuck up. Now, if somebody tells you that you're a fuck up, what do? You probably do the same thing I do when I feel like I'm being criticized. You get defensive. And that defensiveness can absolutely destroy what could be a good conversation. So learning the tips and tricks and getting the training about all the communication skills that we all need in order to have those tough conversations is incredibly important. Hey Mimi, hope you are doing fantastic. So if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat. Love to see them. And hey Cheryl, Yulia, hope you are doing fantastic, sweet lady. So let's hang around and ask a question if you got it. But when we don't share what's going on, when we don't share how we're feeling, and really sharing how we're feeling as we're feeling it, then to some degree we're hiding, and it doesn't feel good. There's only one reason not to share, and that's because you're scared. And if you give into that fear and don't share, you carry that fear, and it becomes a part of the fabric of the relationship, and that's no good for anybody. And I get it. You got to choose between living with that fear or facing the fear of sharing something that you're scared they're not going to be okay with. That's the choice you got to make, and it's tough. It is a tough one. I know it's scary as hell to share scary stuff with somebody when you're scared. Ultimately, in a lot of situations, you're scared that person's going to go away. It's no fun at all. But that's what we got to face. And if you're like me, you'd much rather live wide open, sharing your heart big, and open the door to have really awesome relationships, rather than have that distance between you where you feel shut down, where they feel shut down, and it just becomes a life of frustration. Now, and a lot of people say, well, it's about compromise. You got to compromise in relationships. And in a way that's true, and in a way, the way most people do it, the way most people talk about it is absolutely not true. So compromise can be like a death sentence for relationships. And if what you're compromising is the communication and closeness and the emotional intimacy, because you're not sharing everything that's going on with you, you're not sharing your heart with them, you're not sharing what you're feeling with them, that's no bueno. It's absolutely no good at all. So now, if You know, when people say relationships are about compromise, if what you're compromising, you know, is whether or not you're going to do something now or do it later because you're taking your partner's needs into account. It's like that's going to happen. You know, you can't get Chinese food and sushi on the same night. You know, you're going to make compromises. That's totally cool as long as you're both getting what you need and both getting what you want. You're both living with your heart wide open. And there's a huge difference between lowering your expectations and shutting part of your heart down or shutting part of your heart off, and you know, compared to having to work with somebody else's schedule, work with, you know, like doing some problem solving around and how you can both get what you want. So, not seeing any questions in the chat. Hey Tammy, hey Will, I hope you're doing well. So love you guys, bless you. Remember, be real, be raw, and make your life awesome. Take care.